I think you guys just like me noticed that in the trailer, and in all the teasers we got so far, they revealed a whole lot. But it's kind of weird that besides a few tiny shots, we basically got nothing about Jax and Ribbit. After the last third of episode 6, it became obvious to everyone that this character is supposed to be the main one in episode 7, but right now we're seeing how show creators are sorta highlighting almost every character, while the main hero of the new episode basically gets no attention at all. From what we have so far, there's this shot where we see Jax lying in his room in a fully crushed state. In that same scene, we can also notice a photo showing Jax, Kaufmo, and Ribbit. Besides that, they showed us a small clip of Jax's room door opening. And yeah, that's pretty little and pretty insignificant for someone as major as Jax, and for a mystery as huge as Ribbit. All this leads me to just one thought. The creators are purposely not showing us anything about these characters because any mention of them would be way too big of a spoiler. Glitch have never revealed anything insanely valuable or story-breaking in a trailer or teasers, and it really looks like this time it's happening again. If you think about it, everything they've shown us so far doesn't really make any sense because we don't know what this location is. Same thing with this so-called digital circus temple. A day at the beach doesn't really make much sense to talk about because it's just the start of the episode and it doesn't have any real value. And the fact that Kane's condition is going to get worse was obvious from the start. While about Jax, we basically got nothing. But let's try to figure out why creators showed us these exact 2 scenes and what they're actually hiding. First off, I want to say that Jax's mental state here isn't surprising at all, because Goose leaked a similar shot a long time ago, and I want to stop a bit more on that picture he's got hanging on his wall. We can tell that Ribbit and Kaufmo were pretty close to Jax. He remembers them really well, and I'm sure he keeps reliving the days when his friends turned into abstracted monsters every single day in his head. Now we fully get that Jax isn't actually as cold-hearted as he might look at first. Let's take a closer look at the photo itself. Jax and Kaufmo look pretty happy while Ribbit's expression raises some questions. She looks either way too serious in that moment, or straight up too unhappy. I'd even say kinda detached from the others. Because of all that, I've got a theory that Jax's personality, or more like his whole cool guy mask, was shaped by how Ribbit acted. Maybe she carried herself a bit arrogantly toward the others, and since Jax is actually a pretty sensitive character, he started picking up some of her traits for himself, and as a result, we're seeing exactly what show creators showed us through all the previous episodes. Of course, this is just a theory, and I can't say it's 100% true. It's totally possible that Ribbit just made that face on purpose to add some kind of spark to the photo. Right now, we don't know since the creators are purposely not revealing anything important about these characters. As always, I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments, because I'm really curious what you guys think about all this. Also, I mentioned that besides that scene, we saw a short clip where Jax's room door opens. We all get that during the episode there are going to be some memories that directly involve Ribbit. I've got a feeling that this scene is exactly a moment from one of those memories when Jax hears some kind of scary noises, cracks the door open, and sees how his best friend has already turned into an abstracted monster. As you've probably figured out, the new episode is going to give us a lot of new info, not just about Ribbit, but also about Kaufmo and Jax. And judging by everything, it's going to be insanely important for the story moving forward. And if with Kaufmo we can't even guess anything, then talking about what's going to happen to Jax in episode 7, we can actually do right now. The first sign that Jax is actually a deeper character with a really complex fate was the dialogue scene between Pomni and Jax in episode 5. And if we pay attention, Jax really badly wants to get things off his chest, and basically, he does. But if you look closer, you can see him turn away and purposely avoid looking at Pomni to immediately set some boundaries. That was the first scene ever where Jax genuinely talked to someone, and even if back then this scene didn't have much meaning for the story, now I want you to lock it in your head. He fully understands his role in this place and doesn't want to make things harder, and that's exactly where the problems begin. If we remember the scene where Jax snaps at Pomni, he literally trashes her feelings, shows the highest level of indifference, and acts as aggressive as possible. And at first it might seem like that's all Jax is, but we clearly remember how he reacted to the doors of his dead friends. How he most likely talked sincerely with Pomni, or that moment where he worries about Gangle even though she seems to be, let's say, his main target. You could expect anything but definitely not some sympathy. These two sides of Jax completely contradict each other, and in that case, one of them is fake. I'm sure that the Jax who always hides behind the mask of a cool guy doesn't really belong to our rabbit, but is just a defense mechanism, because now we realize that Jax actually has huge problems and his life is literally at risk. I'm 100% sure that all those words and actions were done on purpose, just to push away everyone else stuck in the digital circus. With Zooble, he's had a pretty interesting dynamic for a while. With Gangle, I already talked about. Kinger acts like a crazy old man 99% of the time, so there's not much effort needed there. Ragatha he doesn't take seriously at all, and only with Pomni things were going perfectly fine up until that moment.
Oh, he makes such such a good team.
Well, to be fair, our competition wasn't anything crazy.
It's pretty clear that all this so-called drama started right when Pomni began getting closer, and looking back at that scene, we now clearly see that Jax is actually a good guy you can have fun with or talk to, but nothing more. And it's not because it would get boring or he'd turn out dull, it's simply because Jax won't let it happen. And that's where his biggest problem comes in. Most likely he gets really attached to the characters close to him, and after they turn into an abstracted monster, his world keeps falling apart piece by piece. That's exactly why he can't handle any mentions of his friends and exactly why he reacted the way he did at Kaufmo's funeral or when Ribbit was brought up in episode 5. And now that we understand Jax's main problem and his personality, we can go back to the scene from the start of the video where Jax had a panic attack. That was the first time we noticed such unusual behavior from the rabbit, but I'm sure there were a few more incidents like that which just never made it on screen. If we think about it a bit and piece together the chain of events, it becomes obvious that this episode happened right after his failed talk with Pomni, which clearly left him upset. In that case, we realize that when Jax is sad, he's super vulnerable, and that's exactly why he keeps hiding behind that so-called cool guy mask. Only when he's in that so-called fun mood can Jax forget about the problems closing in on him from every side, and the biggest problem is his weakness. Knowing all this, a fair question comes up. Could Jax really get abstracted in episode 7? Yeah, he could, but that's not the only possible outcome. First, let's remember the leak where Goose straight up said that starting from episode 6, chaos would begin in the digital circus, and in that case, what can we call chaos at this point? If we count the start of these events with Jax as chaos, then his transformation into an abstracted monster seems more and more logical, but I think it's way more complicated than that, and Goose clearly meant something else by those words. We're gonna see some major changes in the digital circus, and it's hard to believe Jax won't be part of it. One thing's for sure, Jax needs support from someone else, and most likely we'll see some kind of attempt at that, and that therapist definitely ain't gonna be Kane. I think Pomni and Regatha will talk this problem over and decide that the only one who can really help Jax in this situation is Kinger, who actually knows how to handle stuff like this.
Maybe you just needed a break. It sounds to me like you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be there for everyone, and when you're not, you beat yourself up for it. You said you failed Pomni. Why do you feel that way? It was my fault we went down this path, wasn't it? I'm really sorry for that.
Why have you been acting so different lately?
I have, haven't I? I'm normally not too good with memories.
However, it's pretty unlikely our rabbit will let anyone get close to him, and way more likely we'll see him slowly losing that very spark that made him the favorite character for digital circus fans in the first place.